So when I was a little kid, I lived out in a small town, and after school, it was fun to run around, run around the neighborhood, and even in our backyard, we had a nice backyard, and I would sort of run around and play there. And there was a stone wall, and I didn't really understand what, uh, you know, first of all, where the stone wall came from. It was just something fun to climb on. And then beyond the stone wall, there was this really nice woods. And I could run around back there. I mean, when I was really young, somebody would go with me, but in time I could run around, and the woods was really big, and it was a beautiful place to play and explore, and to imagine things. And there was you could sort of go up a gradual hill, and when you got to the top, you could see over the treetops around much of the town. And and I had heard that years earlier Native Americans lived there, and I used to like to imagine that. And occasionally you would find arrowheads, and it was really a really special place, and a fun place to explore. and and we'd play for a while, and then I'd go back over the stone wall, and then back into my house. And one day I was playing with one of the neighbor kids, and there the stone wall to the woods was behind both of our houses, but basically we were standing somewhere between my house and her house. And as little kids will do, she pointed down at the ground, and she said, "That's the line between our properties." And I was kind of stunned, and she said, you can only play on this side of the line if I let you play there. And she was being playful. She would step on our side of the line, and she would say, I'm on your property, but now I'm not on your property. And that was the first time that I became aware of this idea of property and ownership. And certainly one thing that occurred to me was, that the whole thing felt like Native American property, but and that didn't make sense to me at all. But certainly on the other side of the stone wall was kind of this open expanse where we could all play. And in any case, it brought this idea of property, and that in that moment, our two yards became separate in my mind. And I became aware that there were different behaviors on both sides of those properties. So the reason I bring this up is that it's such a powerful example of how just our thinking about something brings a whole constellation about how we'll interact with it. Now, in this case, it's kind of literal. It's property, but in my mind, there was no separation until she explained to me about property and about ownership. I kind of had a sense that our houses, that her house was her house and my house was my house, but I didn't consider this idea of the land in between our houses as being, theirs and ours. And certainly when we would get into an argument, it was like, no, don't come onto our property, that type of a thing. But, in many ways, we do this to ourselves as we build up our models of the world. It's very easy to develop without even realizing it, a conceptual model of something as being difficult, or us not being welcome somewhere. And these are useful mechanisms, but they can also limit us. And if we don't check things in the outside world, we may never explore a domain that could be very rich for us. I had a friend who really felt like when he was in school, he felt like he could never do something very professional like being a lawyer. And then one of his first jobs out of school was somehow involved reading and transcribing legal documents. And he had studied English, so he knew he could do the reading and he could understand things. But in his mind, he still had this property line that said, "I'm not somebody who's cut out to be a lawyer." And he never questioned that line. He really just observed it. And he told me that after about a year of being in this job where he was transcribing all these legal documents, and he would transcribe them and he would read through them a little bit, but wasn't really paying attention. But he said after a year, a funny thing happened. It's like one day it sort of dawned on him that he had this feeling of, oh, I understand all of this and it's easy to understand, for him. And in that moment, he realized that he could be an attorney, and he went back to school and he is an attorney. So, in his case, that was a case of the property line had been drawn there somehow without his even realizing it. And then one day, the property line was erased. It's as if my neighbor and I merged our properties, and now anybody can walk there, which is fun. I like this example because for me it was a very tangible example of how our mental models can really either invite us to do more and to explore and enjoy ourselves, or they can really limit us, and without realizing it, we can have a model that says I'm not capable, or I'm not invited, or I'm not welcome, or I'm not good at this. And what I recommend is dipping your toe over the line and seeing how is it there, how is it as frightening or difficult as I might be imagining. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, and hope you enjoy that.